Okay, I will be reading a short devotional that is entitled Learning to Embrace Change. Oftentimes, when we're going through trials, I apologize for my background noise. Oftentimes, when we're going through trials, we focus on the loss that is involved. However, we know that God works everything together for the good of those who believe in Him. While we might not see the purpose behind what we are experiencing now, we can trust has a greater plan. Jeremiah 29, verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." In the end, while change can be hard, we can grow in our faith when we learn to embrace it. When we trust God's plan, He transforms us each and every as His first. So as you experience change, remember this truth. Let us pray. Father God, as we look to you this afternoon, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Father, for the lives that are on this platform at this time. And Lord, I pray that this session will be wholesome. And I pray that each and every person who joins this meeting will take something from this session and apply it to their daily lives. I thank you once more because gratitude can never be too much when it comes on to you. Pray. Amen. And over to you, Mrs. Hugh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to all parents. Let me also extend greetings to our principal, Mrs. Fion Wine, our moderator for this afternoon, Ms. Janet Silvera, award-winning journalist, and most importantly for me, MAHS past student. I also want to extend greetings to Dr. Evelyn O. Saligan, our guest speaker for this afternoon, Emerita Professor of West Indian Literature, first Jamaican female Rhodes Scholar, and of course, of significant importance to me also, past student of MAHS. A blessed holiday, independence to everyone. At this time, I just want to welcome you amidst the emancipation celebrations. I want to welcome all parents, all students, and everyone this afternoon. This afternoon promises to be a very informative and exciting session with our guest speaker. I am sure that there is a lot to be unfolded. Students who are present, I'm going to encourage you to ask as many questions as possible, because as you can see, you are embarking in the footsteps of those that have gone ahead of you and would have had a wealth of information as it relates to the journey that you will also take as students. And therefore, I'm not going to extend the greetings too long. I just want to say, ask as many questions, try as much as possible to learn from these stalwarts in our midst, both our moderator, Mrs. Silvera, and as well as our guest speaker. And therefore, without any further ado, I will now turn over to Mrs. Silvera, our moderator.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I am a proud past student of Mount Alvernia High School, and I'm even more proud now, knowing I'm getting an opportunity to listen to our first Rhodes Scholar. In fact, when the invitation went out and the flyer was going about, there were a number of persons who were telling me that they know Mrs. O'Callaghan. Dr. Luz Longsworth sends her blessings. I wonder if she's hearing me. Is she hearing me? Is she on?
I'm hearing you.
Good.
Thank
So
you.
I noticed that we have approximately 210 graduates this year. And that CSEC and CAPE results 2020 saw up to a 99% pass rate for both. In addition, you students have been recognized regionally, and that's in the region, in the Caribbean rather, for being among the top 10 best results I've seen in, and I'm hearing that you have gotten all sorts of accolades as a result of this. Ranked 5th in the island for certain subjects, entered 2 pieces in national awards, and you got a gold and a parish award. You got 5th overall from the University of the West Indies Math Olympiad. And at the 2021 champs, you won a silver medal in class 2. To me, it means that Mount Alvernia is doing something that is right. So I'm very excited about the future of the school. And I just want to recognize the new principal and her team, Vice Principal Carolyn Hugh, who has been very helpful, ensuring that I got the information for this afternoon's event. I now invite Janiela Darian, who will officially introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Principal Mrs. Wine, Chairman of the Board Ms. Dart Chambers, Moderator Ms. Janet Silvera, other members of the board, members of the academic staff, representatives from the Ministry of Education, parents, guardians, and fellow graduates, good afternoon. It is my greatest pleasure to introduce to you the guest speaker of this year's graduation ceremony, Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of West Indian Literature and Emeritus Professor of West Indian Literature, Evelyn O'Callaghan. She serves as a true embodiment of an accomplished individual and acts as an inspiration to all ladies whose ambitions epitomize our school's motto, "To the stars through difficulties." Ms. O'Callaghan, a proud alumni of our distinguished institution, graduated from Mount Alvernia High School in the year 1973 as class valedictorian, and from there, she proceeded to complete her undergraduate education at Ireland's University College Cork. She's also documented in Jamaica's history books as the first female to achieve the honor of being a Rhodes Scholar in 1978. What an outstanding achievement from one of our own, once again proving that a Mount Alvernia lady can defy the odds. Her success story did not stop there, as she later completed a Master of Letters degree at Wolfson College and a doctorate at the University of the West Indies. In addition, she was a junior lecturer at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, and in 1983, she transferred to the UWI campus in Cave Hill, Barbados, where she received a full professorship. Furthermore, she was the head of the Department of Language, Linguistics, and Literature, and she is currently the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education. Ms. O'Callaghan is not only a successful professor, but an accomplished author and editor. Her published works include articles and chapters on West Indian literature, particularly on women's writing, early Caribbean narratives, and more recently, eco-critical readings of Caribbean landscapes in visual and scrollbound text. She has published woman version theoretical approaches of West Indian fiction by women, Women Writing in the West Indies, 1804 to 1929, A Hot Place Belonging to Us. She has also edited books such as Caribbean-Irish Connections and Madness in Anglophone Caribbean Literature, On the Edge, as well as Volume 1 of Caribbean Literature in Transition. Ladies of Mount Alvernia, please join me in welcoming editor, author, and professor, Dr. Evelyn O'Callaghan.
Thank you very much for those very kind and very pleasant and very heartwarming salutations, and I want to say hi particularly to Janet Silvera from my sister-in-law, Christine Hall, with whom you worked at Comey many years ago. Right, I am very impressed by Miss Silvera's analysis of what you girls have been doing. So this is my little spiel to you. Dear graduating class of 2021, firstly and most important, a huge congratulations to you on having achieved this milestone this year. After all the challenges and miseries of the last nearly 2 years, the amount of work and study you and your teachers have done truly deserve a big round of applause. And to have done so well despite these challenges is really, really credit to you and to the school. Secondly, may I say how pleased I am to have been asked to deliver this address, because I quite clearly remember standing on the stage in my white robe, delivering the valedictorian address at my own Mount Alvernia graduation, and it was indeed a very special occasion. Now, the theme of this year's graduation is Ladies Embracing Change in a Technological Era. I know that Mount Alvernia prides itself on producing young ladies, but as I am neither young nor a lady, I will not speak to that topic, particularly as ladies can also be a bit of a class distinction, so I prefer women. As for a technological era, my dears, I have to confess I was at school and my first university degree in the dark ages. I mean, there was no internet. There were no computers accessible to us. There was no email, no Facebook, no Instagram, no mobile phones. As Mrs. Hume said, her daughters asked her, "How did you survive, Mommy?" But we had to, and we did. I still hardly use Facebook. I don't have Twitter or Instagram, and I really stick to the basics of Zoom, composition, cut and paste. So I'm not really qualified to talk about that topic either. But what I can talk about is adapting to change, because this has been very much a part of my life. I was actually born in Nigeria, if you please, where my father was working as an engineer in Ife. But I don't remember any of it because at age 3, we arrived in Jamaica, where he'd been appointed on the construction of the Palisadoes runway. Obviously, I didn't have any control over this change either, but all of my early memories are set in Kingston, where we lived. And then at age 9, we moved to Montego Bay and started at new schools. Well, I was late at entering Mount Alvernia after getting a place in the common entrance exam because my family were on an extended overseas trip. So you can imagine me now, a small new girl, being presented to the huge class of first formers, all of whom knew each other already. What to say, how to fit in. In time, of course, I settled in and I enjoyed school for the most part. After sixth form, which, my dears, we did at Cornwall College because there weren't enough teachers at Mount Alvernia to cover all the new A-level subjects. After sixth form, it was change again, because again, my father had been the first one in his family to go to university. He put himself through it after working for a couple of years, and he wanted me to go to the same college. So it was, I ended up in cold, rainy Ireland at the University College Cork. Now that was a change I hated. After the wonderful and sophisticated, to me anyway, cosmopolitan Mowbray life, to go to the grey drabness of Cork where people didn't know how to dress, didn't know how to dance, didn't like the food, and they spoke really weirdly. It wasn't a pleasure for the first year or so, but I adapted. And again, friends made the difference between belonging and not belonging. I graduated with a first class honours, much to the surprise, I will say, of a number of my classmates in English and philosophy, and was offered a job as tutor in the English department where I registered for a master's. Now, around this time, late 1970s, women became eligible to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship. And my mother was very, very keen that I would try. And so, with the help of the then principal of Mount Alvernia, Sister Joan Clare, bless her heart, a ticket was bought for me to come home for the interview at King's House. That was a scene. The Governor General making small talk with Jamaican candidates from all kinds of overseas universities, as well as UWI, in the very, very formal setting of King's House. The interviews were grueling, lasting well into the evening. Stubbornly, I insisted that the research I wanted to do was into, wait for it, a study of Creole languages, what we used to call patois, in the West Indian novel. Well, West Indian literature was the new trend at UWI, but it sure wasn't at Oxford, which is where most people go who are awarded the scholarship. So another change. I packed up my boxes in Ireland and the scholarship paid for me to ship them to Oxford, where I arrived the following October with a bad case of sunburn because I was doing heavy beach duty in Mobay before arriving in another cold place. But this cold place was a lot more architecturally attractive than Cork. Not wanting to be an oddity in a previously male college, not to mention mixed bathrooms, I opted for an already mixed graduate college, which was also quite new and thus, thank goodness, warm. There began a round of mostly boring receptions with sherry served in little glasses and your finger out like this. And I met people from all over the world at my college, at Rhodes House, in my department, in the compulsory first year courses I had to do for the masters. And naturally, most of them asked me in their Oxford accents, what are you reading? Now, they didn't mean what book I was reading. They meant what was I studying, but them talk funny over there. And when I responded, a study of Creole in the West Indian novel, the response was, oh, is there one? Is there such a thing as a West Indian novel? Which gives you an idea of what the average Oxford student was like. Privately educated, often with an undergraduate degree at Oxford, a very posh accent, and sometimes not very interested in things non-British. But of course, you see, I came from Jamaica, even though I was an odd color, and Jamaica was exotic and attractive. So I was, I think, viewed as something of a curiosity. Anyway, I adapted again. I held my own. I made friends. I learned the system. I wore a gown and hood to examinations and to matriculation ceremony. I bought an old bike and cycled everywhere. I went punting on the River Charwell, and I even rowed, my dears, I rowed for my college in the women's team, and we won. And I worked on what interested me, learning about Caribbean writing, even though it was difficult to find a supervisor who knew much more about it than I did. And again, 3 years later, I graduated with a postgraduate degree. And like a good Rhodes Scholar and a good Mount Alvernia graduate, I was determined to go home and give back to my country. But how? I had worked summer and Christmas jobs in Mobay, but the only thing I really knew how to be was an academic. So I applied to the English department at UWI Mona. And again, a huge change from a very rich, privileged Oxford to post-Michael Manley, Jamaica, in the grip of the IMF, with only cow heel and chicken back on the supermarket shelves. And I'm not exaggerating. The country was reeling and broke. By the time I'd paid rent and hired the furniture in my little concrete box on campus, I had a miner's salary for the first couple of months. I couldn't even afford padlocks for the burglar bars, so of course I was robbed. My ghetto blaster was a huge loss. So was my 1 gold bracelet, not to mention the chicken in the fridge. Anyway, campus police came and put handcuffs on the bars to close the grill doors. So I was yet again adapting to change. The department, however, was welcoming, and I was working under the guidance of people like Mervyn Morris, Eddie Baugh, Carolyn Cooper, listening to talks by visiting scholars like Gordon Rollaire and Ken Ramchand. Edward Kamau Brathwaite had the office next door to mine, and we shared a party line, so I would frequently take phone messages for him, mostly invitations to speak at institutions abroad. Through friends on campus, I came to know Olive Sr. and Lorna Goodison and Erna Broadburn. You may not recognize these names, children, But trust me, they were in the forefront of Caribbean literature and literary analysis at the time. So it was a real privilege and a pleasure to serve under them. It was a special time as we all cared about the region and the country and tried to prioritize teaching and researching its culture. Better must come, Michael Manley had said, and eventually it did, but it was a challenging time for sure. Anyway, I turned out to be a decent enough lecturer and I did prepare carefully. And when 2 years later, I joined the Mona faculty, a vacancy came up at Cave Hill. Sorry, 2 years after I joined the Mona faculty, a vacancy came up at the Cave Hill Barbados campus in Literatures in English, as we now called it. It was change again. Now, Barbados then was very different to Jamaica. It was small, very small, pretty flat, had well-stocked supermarkets, about 10 kinds of different detergent, which was shocking to me in those days, a stable currency linked to the US dollar, and very restrained people. They were not particularly friendly, but through UWI, I made friends from all over. And I was awarded my PhD with distinction there. My 2 boys were born here, and that's where I am today. Now just retired after 38 years at UWI. I know I've made an impact on my students' ways of thinking and arguing and writing because they tell me so. I met one in the supermarket the other day and she said to me, "My children read because of you. You taught me to love books." So if I'd give some advice about the unknown future that lies ahead of you graduates, it would be work hard so you're able to do something that you love or at least like. Work at something you enjoy, that you like. And above all, work at something that makes a difference to other people's lives. Study, write poetry, be an educator, be a nurse, be a politician who really does make policy to change social and financial inequality. Sing, act, study medicine, be a lawyer with ethics, or a civil servant who has respect for the public. Give back, but do so because it makes you feel better about yourself. And remember who you heard this from, a Mount Alvernia graduate just like you, but one who had adapted to a lot of changes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm here talking as if I'm speaking to everyone and I'm muted. Dr. Evelyn O'Callaghan, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. I must tell you that I wasn't expecting anything more than what you have given us. You have whetted our appetites. Now we are ready to go into question and answer. And it's gonna be a chat. And I've gotten some of the questions that the students have already sent to me. But you know, I'm hoping that one day, just one day, you may decide to go on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You never know what you may find there. You came back to Jamaica at a time when people were leaving. So you made a lot of sacrifices by returning home. You were at the forefront, or should I say, at the feet of Caribbean literature scholars that were among the best, or should I say the creme de la creme. But Barbados succeeded in stealing you from us. I hope one day you'll come back to Jamaica to live. I know that's probably a hard one, but one of your children may just decide to move here and you come with them.
Yes, yes.
You're telling the students here to work hard so that they can do something that they like.
Yes.
I'm doing the same as you're doing. You tell them to become politicians. I've always said that's a difficult one, but one that is able to create meaningful policies. Without further ado, let's get right into it. How did your experience at Mount Alvernia High School prepare you for the first female Rhodes Scholars? That's a question that is coming from a grade 11 student.
That's a tough one. I've been asked that quite a lot of times because I can't find a single thing I can point to. I had great teachers, and I think that gave me a sense of faith in what I could do and also the courage to just say, listen, nothing going to stop me. And that really is important, because it's very humbling and very intimidating to get a Rhodes Scholarship, and very hard work to get to the interview process. But, I just determined, well, I am from Mount Alvernia, I can do it, and I did it. And, I always thank Sister Joan Clare and my mother for bringing me home for that interview, because if they hadn't been able to find the money, I would not have been able to come, because I was, a poor student. So that they put their money where their mouth is. And I hope I have made the school proud, because I always talk about them, always talk about the school. So that's more or less what Mount Alvernia did for me. Confidence, good education, and the feeling that you could do it. You could do it.
Exactly. I experienced the same things,
Right.
except I was really pushed really hard. I had to ensure that I was a strong one. And had it not been for Mount Alvernia, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I really want to say thanks to the school as well. The other question that came in was, what were the benefits of being a Rhodes Scholar recipient? What were some of those benefits?
Well, again, for those of you who don't know Oxford University, it is a very, very reputable and highly respected university. So straight away, you're kind of an elite if you get in there, because you're among the top scholars of your generation. But you also get excellent teachers. And they have a wonderful system, which they call the tutorial, which is a one-on-one supervision at graduate level, even at undergraduate level. So you get a lot of individual attention. That said, it was also a fabulous place to wander around. I mean, you've seen the architecture on pictures and the front of biscuit tins and so forth. And it truly is spectacular. There's some beautiful churches, lots of museums, fabulous, not sermons, fabulous music. And I met people from all over the world, many of whom are my dear friends still today. We were on a Rhodes Scholarship seminar, Zoom as usual, the other day. And there was a guy I knew there from Zambia, as well as from all other parts of the world, Venezuela, Colombia, everywhere, and that was a real eye-opener, meeting people from all over the world.
I can just imagine. I went to school in France for a short while, and I can tell you that's one of the most exciting things I've ever done.
Yes.
I had students from all over the world in my class, many of them refugees, but it gave me an opportunity to see how others live. The next question that we have is, what does success mean to you? I'm very interested in that one, I must say.
And that's another one that gave me pause for thought, because what is my idea of success is probably not what is most people's idea of success. I don't need a huge amount of money. I just want some financial security. But above all, I want to know that my life has made some kind of difference to somebody, that I won't just pass through like a memory and then disappear, that I have left some kind of impression, some kind of good on the hearts and minds of my students. And that to me is the greatest success. And I think that's why, when students say, teach, I'll teach when they graduate, they are losing really a great profession, because having a teacher to inspire you is what makes the difference in your what you're going to do with the rest of your life. If it wasn't for the lecturers, the teachers I had at high school, I would never be who I am today. So I really think that being successful means that you have done something with your life that has made a difference to other people's. I mean that, truly.
I know you mean that. It means leaving that legacy that's going to live on for years to come as well, eh?
Yes, exactly.
There was a time when I thought that I shouldn't have gone to university. That's before I went to university, because I thought I was so brilliant. Within myself, my ego was getting the better of me, until I went into university and realized how the gatekeepers will keep you back, how the agenda setting will destroy your life if you're not careful. You have to read. I'm happy that you have passed on that to so many people all the lives that you have touched, that we're able to read today and to decipher what we read. The other question that we have is, how do you persevere when you feel as though all odds are against you? Have you ever gone through that?
Oh, quite a few times, largely to do with the loss of my parents, you know. I had just moved to Montego Bay when my mother died, and it was a total shock. We weren't expecting it. And the same with my father. So they were very tough times because, you know, we grew up in Jamaica without any family, lots of friends, but no other family. So we were a very close family. And even after I moved over here, you know, I would go back repeatedly. I mean, my son was christened there. I went and got married there. You know, everything was Jamaica and family. So I really did find it very hard and very lonely being away from them. And how do I persevere? I think, to be honest, if you have someone you can talk to, if you can share it with somebody, whether it's, you know, a girlfriend or a partner, or even when they get big enough, your children, it shares the load. It shares the load. And that is the you know, it's a cliche, but a burden shared is a burden halved. And we all need people. That's what's so hard about this COVID business, you know, not being able to see people that I love and that I want to see, and family that are overseas because you can't travel. Not being able to, you know, catch up with friends or my ancient mother-in-law, you know, because she's in a home. That's really the hard part. So we need people, and we need people to share with when we are down, and we need to do it for them when they are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Who is your biggest motivator? That's a question coming from another student.
You know, I think I'm probably my biggest motivator because I'm a Virgo. So I'm very much a perfectionist. And I feel guilty if I'm not giving my best. It's a terrible, terrible fault, but it kind of works, you know, because you can have other people expecting this and expecting that. But if you don't think you've made it, then you haven't made it. You have to do something that you're proud of and that you've done your best. And I always feel bad if I haven't given my best. I do. I mean, I know they call that imposter syndrome or something like that. I think we shouldn't feel like that. But I do think I'm tough on myself. And I think that probably is what motivates me. But now, thank God, I am out of the rat race and I can relax a little bit.
Is that what you call it? Rat race?
The later years of university were administration, and there is nothing that is more challenging, as you know, than administration. Meetings, 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 talk. No teaching, no contact with students except when they want something from you, and money all the time. No, that was tough. That was tough, and I think I'm glad to give that side of it up, as well as the fact that, you know, one of the questions here is about how do you motivate students, especially in this time of COVID. Teaching has become a real uphill task, having to learn all of this, you know, distance and virtual and Zoom and everything like that. So it was a rough kind of time when I left.
I can just imagine. So seeing that you were into so many meetings, doing all of this, sometimes I guess you're bored in the meetings. What do you enjoy doing in your leisure time?
Mostly reading. Surprise, surprise. I
No.
also love the beach still. That's growing up in Montego Bay. Can't help it. And we try and go at least once or twice a week. I like boogie boarding, you know, the bodyboards. Though I'm not as courageous now as I was a couple of years ago because the waves here at the Hilton are very big. I love dancing. I did ballet for many years, salsa, and I love just dancing, you know, but there haven't been any parties for the longest while, so I am denied.
Well, you can do them on Zoom now, you know.
No, that don't work. That is not the same thing. I don't feel so. Anyway, I'm looking forward to getting back to that. And of course, above all, seeing friends, you know, spending time with friends and family and chatting.
I hope we're not boring anyone on the calls. There is a question here that I would like to find out the answer to as well from you. What advice would you give young women going into this world based on your experiences?
First of all, know that you are as good as anybody else, and I mean men. You are as good and you can do as much as any of them. That's the first thing. If you're a Mount Alvernia girl, you've got to be proud of what you have achieved and go in there ready to challenge anybody else. Secondly, and I actually do mean it, you know, you've got to do something that you like doing.
Mhm.
You could be as successful as anything and you don't like the job you're doing, you find it boring or routine or it doesn't fulfill you, you will never be happy. I think you've got to give your life to something that you love, or at least that you like, or at least that
So,
you think is valuable.
so if my mother wants me to become a doctor or a lawyer, all the big jobs
Yes,
that are the ones that people gravitate towards,
yes.
would you then say then, if that is not what makes you happy, you shouldn't probably do that?
I would say exactly that. I
Oh,
really would. I would. I've known too many students who went on from literature because they think it really is a very good preparation for law. And they come to me and they said, I made such a mistake. It's a cutthroat world, it's dog eat dog, and I am not enjoying it, you know? So that you really do, if you can. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has the luxury of being able to do that. You know, some people have to work because they need to earn enough money to support their family. But if you possibly can, try and find something to do that you actually enjoy or care about.
agreed. Agreed. That's why I've stayed in journalism for so
That's
long.
what yes, exactly.
Yes. What career mistake has given you the biggest lesson?
Sending emails that you shouldn't have sent. And that awful feeling at the pit of your stomach when you realize it's gone, they've read it. That really, it's terrible.
I want all the students to take note of this one, because sometimes you write things,
Yes.
particularly if you're upset, and you send it off and you can't take it back.
Yep.
And
we're
sometimes the words, when you read those words, they are
yes,
more hurtful than if you were to say them otherwise, because it's in print, it's looking back at you,
that's it. And
right?
if it goes to people that you didn't intend to send it to, which often
Yes.
is the case if you were copied into a message and you respond or you send the message to somebody, that's even worse because you're actually betraying a trust with somebody else. Oh, nightmare, nightmare, nightmare. Um, yeah, I haven't really had that many huge setbacks in my career. So I would say that that really is something. We're in a technological era, ladies, so kindly learn and observe the etiquette that goes with it.
How has your cultural background influenced your writings?
Well, I
And
mean,
what advice would you give to young writers?
okay, two things. My cultural background has been everything because every subject that I have ever studied at university is to do with the Caribbean literature in particular, and Caribbean women's writing, because that was virtually unknown when I started. So I would not have done, I was determined to do it. So I think my cultural background has been the most important shaping force. And I am proud of our culture, and I'm very, very proud of our writing, and I'm very proud of our women writers. I mean, a lot of them have to go abroad to live, but they have done particularly wonderful. And I count myself incredibly lucky to have so many of them as friends now. Now, what would I give advice to people who want to be writers? I presume this means not scholarly writers, but creative writers. And the best answer I can give to that is practice, 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 and get into a peer group. Get writing practice in a writer's group, exchange your work, get feedback, and practice, practice, practice. Every writer who practices their craft, not inspired like Wordsworth, you know, out of the blue, is honest about what they're doing. That's the only way you'll get better at writing is practice.
I'm in
Practice.
agreement. And as a writer myself, I must tell you, it's by reading that I've become a better writer.
Right.
particularly if my work has been edited
Yes.
by an editor. I will go back and read my stories and I see whether or not where the mistakes were, if there were any at all.
And don't have the, I mean, don't have the courage to say, actually, I disagree with this editor. I think that this is good. It's working as it is, you know?
I've
Take,
done that too.
but that, you have to trust your own voice when you get it, but don't say, like one Rhodes Scholar said when I was interviewing him or her, I will not say which, oh, I'm a poet. You're not a poet. You're learning to be a poet. You're practicing. It is somebody else to call you a poet, you know? You have to practice. You have to get your craft right. Derek Walcott said it. Olive Senior says it. All good writers say it. So practice, 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 but get feedback.
Fantastic. There's another question here, which I find interesting. What gives you the most fulfillment? I know you're retiring, but you can tell us while lecturing students at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill in Barbados. What's the most fulfilling thing about lecturing for you?
And that's why I don't like Zoom. When you are in a classroom or a small tutorial group with, and they're not always young, but mostly now younger people, and you see that they got it. You see someone's face, the eyes light up, that expression, I got it. I get it at last. You know, and you're going through a poem that's kind of difficult and you want them to get what you have read into it, but they're not getting it. And then all of a sudden, click, and they get it. So you have to try all kinds of ways to get through to them, you know, in terms of, and I'm not just talking about academic subjects. I talk to my students about everything. They're young adults. They need to think about things. I had to learn when I left Jamaica that a lot of our values and our beliefs are actually very intolerant and other people don't share them. So you have to engage in open-mindedness and the fact that there are other ways of thinking beside what you have been taught or what you think.
It's good to travel. It helps.
It really, honestly, I would say that because I have some UE students here at Cave Hill who did their undergraduate degree here, did their postgraduate degree here, did their tertiary degree here. You know, they need to get some exposure to outside. I know it's not always easy, especially at this time, but really it is probably the best thing for enlarging your mind. So that's the most rewarding thing when I see a student getting it. And when they write to me or email me from, you know, back in St. Lucia or St. Vincent or wherever they've gone, and they say, you know, I have learned so much at UE. How can I talk to my friends here who hold these views? And I said, you know, I will answer them back and say, have the courage of your convictions, you know, tell them that for 400 years, your people were held in slavery. And you can't turn around to your brother citizen, your fellow citizen, and diss them because they believe something different than you or they practice a different kind of way than you do. Tolerate them. Be tolerant just as people are tolerant to you.
Thank you. Can I ask everyone who is on the Zoom to just turn on their cameras, if it's even just so we can see your faces for half of a minute? I'm going to open the floor now, Mrs. Hume. I noticed you said that, and I was just about to tell you that I'm going to open the floor. I am asking the students to open their cameras because we would like to see some of the faces. It is almost disheartening to be on having a conversation all day long, and all I'm seeing is us. We would like to see some others. What about Janiela Darian, who introduced our guest speaker? Janiela, do you have a camera on your computer? Can we get you to open up? And anyone who is about to ask questions will have to open their camera in order to ask those questions. That's one of the requirements. So we're gonna do the raise hands for camera, for questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. I will acknowledge you. I have opened the floor. There are 74 participants, minus me and Dr. O'Callaghan, we would be 72. Do we have any questions out there? I'm not seeing any raise hand feature coming up. I wonder if there's anyone else who is seeing anything that I may not be seeing.
There's Janela.
I see in Janiela, but I'm not. All right, let me look. Speaker
What
view,
about-
gallery view. Let me look at gallery. Okay, so I'm in gallery view and I'm not seeing. Are you saying that we have been answering most of your questions and you don't have any questions whatsoever? Well, let me ask the next question. What is your philosophy of teaching and learning, Dr. O'Callaghan?
Hmm. Hmm. What is my philosophy of teaching? Again, I think you really have to give of your best. You know, I mean, I've been doing it for 38 years, and that doesn't include, you know, when I was in high school doing summer camps and things like that. And still, before I go up to the lecture podium, I get nervous. You know, I need to have my preparation done. I need to have my notes. I need to know I can do a good job. Because every class is different. Every group of students is different. You have to find what works. I mean, there's always going to be the ones who are on their cell phone under the desk or, you know, behind the computer pretending that they're doing some typing when they're really checking their emails. But, you know, you get to know them pretty fast. We know the tricks of the trade, ladies. But it's your job to interest them. So keep doing different things, you know, put one of the students in charge of the class. That'll shake them up. Give them a presentation topic and then let one of them run the class. You know, that works. Let them grade each other. That gets them interested. Of course, they'll all give each other 9 out of 10 or something like that. But, you know, then you can adjust it yourself. But at least give them a sense of agency. Let them feel that they are part of the process. That's the worst thing about our educational system in the Caribbean. The way in which at primary school and some of secondary school, we just expect to pour knowledge into the student's head and they regurgitate it. They're not taught to think for themselves. And it's often when they get to university that they find they have to, and it's not an easy job.
No,
So
because the foundation is not there.
And you know, the reading, I like you, I think that you're improved as a human being, you're improved as a writer, you're improved as a student if you always have books around you. But these days it's all visual. So I can't say, you know, I can't say anything. I just say try and keep some reading as part and parcel of your lives. And be active in your own learning. I would say that would be my philosophy. If I have one such philosophy, I constantly reinvent how you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. This is my final question to you. There was one about engaging students, particularly during the COVID era, but you have answered that one already. How would you go about being an advocate and resource for the use of technology in the teaching and learning process?
Well, we had to, before COVID, we had to adapt to a certain extent. I mean, of course, all along we've been having to adapt to new changing technological situations. But the truth is, at UWI, money is tight. Money is much tighter than it was. And we don't have the wonderful smart classes that they have in more developed countries, you know, and the smart projector that can run very fancy classes. But we have had to adapt, and we've had to do what they call e-learning, which is what, of course, these students today are doing as well. So that we post information, we post readings, we post questions, we post discussion topics, and the students have them online and they can respond to them online, either in small groups or, you know, one-on-one with the tutor. It's extra work, let's be honest, but it challenges them, and they have a body of material that they can build up over their educational process on topics, not just from their perspective, but from their peers, from their lecturer and from their teachers, you know, a little body of answers to questions that they may be puzzling over. The more minds, the better. That, and I have to say, I have done a little bit of experiment in cross-campus teaching. I don't mean only at UWI, but with colleagues at University of Miami and Amherst University. And I found that, me and the students, so we'd have classes online and I would lecture. and then another class online, and the one in Amherst would lecture or talk, and the students there would ask questions, and our students would ask questions, and then they get together in small groups. So I think the more collaboration that we do, the better it is for our students. I really do think that it's new perspectives, new ways of learning, new ideas. They're a little intimidated, of course, at first, but it pays off in the end. In a world where we can't travel, we need to travel virtually. That's the only way to get to know each other.
Exactly, exactly. You could not have said it any better. You couldn't have ended it on a better note. I'm going to now give one last opportunity to anyone in the audience who would like to ask a question before I introduce the young woman who is about to give the vote of thanks.
You see, that's
there-
again, trouble with Zoom,
It seems like we're in a very shy group of
because they
young
don't want
people.
to have everybody looking at them.
Yes, Janiela, are they always this shy?
There's 74 people. I'm shocked, and I would like to see some of them. Girls, please.
Well, at least our principal is up. We're seeing our principal, and we're seeing Dr.
I suppose our students are all in.
Oh, okay. Understood. So Ash, I was saying, Janiela, is it normal? Do you have a lot of shy people around at Mount Alvernia?
She's
Yes,
laughing.
we have some shy ones, but we have a lot of bold students as well.
Okay, but they're not on this on this Zoom platform at this time.
Perhaps not. I'm not quite sure. No.
All right, no problem. We are not worried at all. We know within ourselves that this conversation, which I'm hoping that the school will embark on and do one every 3 months at least.
Great idea. Great
I am
idea.
excited about it. I believe it could be called the Mount Alvernia Conversations or something,
Yes,
but
yes.
it's a fantastic idea. I'm
Yes.
really happy that I have been a part of this. So I hope you will do it again.
And may I say that there was a load of people, ex-students, Cornwall College boys, that contacted me because the flyer has been doing great duty. I don't know where or how. I think it's all them people in Florida, all the past girls associations that have been
They
circulating.
are. I saw it on Facebook.
No, tell you. So I really think that it would be a great way to get them, get past students to talk about their lives, their experience, their jobs, what advice they have to give. If the young ones want to hear it, if they don't, they can just mute it.
True. Thank you again, Dr. O'Callaghan.
Very welcome.
I now invite Ashley Ray Fogle to do the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon. Education Officer Mrs. Brissett, representatives of the school's board, our principal, Mrs. Keon Wine, vice principals, Mrs. Hume and Mr. Hunton, our guest speaker for this afternoon's proceedings, Dr. Evelyn O'Callaghan, our moderator, Miss Janet Silvera, teachers, graduates, parents, good afternoon. I take pride in delivering the vote of thanks on this momentous occasion. To Dr. Callahan for reminding us that we should work hard at something that we love or like and will ultimately make a difference to someone's life. That was an insightful and motivating address that we will take with us throughout our lives. 2021 has been a challenging year for the school, parents, and all students. However, we continue to innovate to survive. This has proven to be effective as we have just been engaged by the guest speaker virtually. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us. God bless you. Continue to mold students for the future. I also wish to extend many thanks to Ms. Silvera for sharing company with us. and the school's administration for allowing us to meet in this setting, though we wondered if a ceremony like this would have been possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. It's Ashley Ray, right?
Yes,
Your
miss.
glasses look like mine, Ashley.
I tell you, style and fashion. Thank you very, very much.
Fabulous, really fabulous, Ashley. Thank you so much. I'm now going to invite Mrs. Carolyn Hume, who is our vice principal and will be doing the closing remarks.
Principal, Vice Principal, Mr. Horton, our moderator, Janet Silvera, guest speaker, Dr. O'Callaghan, members of staff who are with us, our graduates, parents, past students, good afternoon. Yes, Ms. Silvera, yes, Dr. O'Callaghan, this is the first of a series of such talks that we would love to have. So this is the guinea pig, so to speak, because we thought that it would be very good. COVID has actually caused several changes to have to be made where graduation is concerned. So we said, okay, let us use the lemon that has been given to us and let us make lemonade. We're not able to have in person a whole grand ceremony as we usually would have had. Since we are forced to use the Zoom platform, let us go ahead and add more to it. Why not allow students to be able to ask their questions? And I'm going to be honest and say I'm a little disappointed that my usually brave girls were not brave enough to ask their questions today. But Dr. O'Callaghan, it was extremely good. I am a past student, class of 94, and I can say I was sitting here and I was listening and I was learning and it was helping me as well. So I want to thank everyone for being here today and for being at what I believe will be the first of many such very, very helpful talks, conversations, Janet, where past students can pass on not just the good that they have done and the wonderful things that they have experienced, but the mistakes as well too. Because sometimes we learn more from the mistakes than we learn from the success stories, you know? So it is my pleasure to have been here, and I want to thank everyone. I know Ashley Ray did an awesome job. I will not repeat what she said, but I want to thank everyone, and I want to say Alvernia, as always, the best school in all of Jamaica, as far as I am concerned, always was, always will be, and we look forward to maintaining that. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Hume. I'm hoping that I'll get an invitation to come back. Already people are calling me and asking me for my earrings. Yes, I'm getting messages.
I was looking at them too, you know.
Yes, yes.
I tell you, I'm so excited. Thank you very much for having me. All the best to you, Dr. O'Callaghan. Please say hello to Christine for me.
I will.
Please.
She made me watching this. She's in Abu Dhabi. No, she's in.
I hope she's watching.
Yes.
I haven't seen or heard of her in a while.
Okay, thank you all very much. It was a privilege, and thank you, Mrs. Hume, for all the tips and help that you gave me in setting it up and making this relatively pain-free.
You're welcome, Dr. O'Callaghan.
Graduates, enjoy your achievement, you hear? Enjoy it and celebrate it. You deserve everything you got. So keep working, keep making us proud of you. Okay.